Welcome everybody to today's episode of The Deep Dive. I am Michael. I'm glad to have you here. So today the news I want to talk about is the Swedish government latest immigration policy. I know that even though it has been here for almost a year, very few people have talked about it and very few people living in Sweden really know about it. So because of that, I'm going to read directly from the website of the Swedish government. This is from government.se, Government Offices of Sweden. More measures to reinforce return operations and internal controls of aliens. That is. And the publication date was September 2023. The government has adopted supplementary terms of reference for the inquiry on reinforcing return operation. The aim is to improve the condition of conducting effective return operation and reinforcing internal controls of aliens. Now, two things here: effective return to their countries and reinforcement of internal controls. So these are really taken apart separately. One has a more humanitarian perspective, and the other one has more policing perspective. So to balance these two, in my perspective, it's going to be a little bit a Herculean work to do, because in one aspect you are going to tell people, if you're not feeling comfortable here, if you don't think you have done well and you don't think there is a possibility of you doing well here, you have opportunity to take this amount of money we are offering you, incentivized, you are incentivized with, to go home to your country to stay. Now, the problem is, what if the person who has filled this bracket refuses to go? That is where I say that reinforcing internal controls of the aliens plays a little bit a role that is not conventional. What will happen when somebody who has filled all the brackets, who has filled all the points, if you're not doing well, you're not contributing to the economy, and maybe every now and then you find yourself in a little problem, maybe not violent problem, and you are given the opportunity with this incentivizing to go, and you say no, what happens? So we keep that. Let's go with the news. The government has already taken a number of measures to reinforce efforts to identify people who do not have the right to stay in Sweden and ensure that they return to their home countries. However, further measures are needed to address the problem of illegal stays and combat the shadow society. The says Minister of Migration Maria Malmer Stenegård. Now, the shadow society, I presume, are those who are here undocumented, illegally and undocumented, or probably people who have overstayed their visa and decided to disappear in the society. The remit of the inquiry on reinforcing return operation has therefore been expanded to include. They have what I may call a 5-point agenda. In the 5 points agenda to buttress these two policy decisions, they say reviewing the regulatory framework on internal controls of aliens so that the authorities are better able to check whether people have the right to stay in the country. Now, this sounds very nice, and also it's a common sense information, but the taking control of this part of the regulation may involve stopping and asking people to show their ID. So in a way, some people may misconstrue this as people of non-Swedish origin are being targeted. So, but I believe that they may have thought ahead of this, or they may have not. We are yet to see. The next point is determining whether the statutory limitation period for removal orders should be extended or eliminated, and whether it should be possible to impose longer re-entry bans than at present. So when you are supposed to be taken out of the country, you are given a timeline. Okay, you leave the country between now and the next 3 months, and you can also depend on if you are having some important things that you must conclude before you leave, and you'll be given extension. It's a kind of a waiver. But now there's a consideration whether that could continue or it will be eliminated immediately. In which case, if you're here illegally and you are spotted, you're right away put in the deportation line. So they know which way to carry this out. So far, it has not fully been concluded. So what we are going with is what is already present. It might change, as they said. The next point is determining how to make greater and more effective use of photographs and fingerprints in alien cases than at present. And that's more of putting a high guard, fingerprinting people, more of face imaging. One thing with the government is if face imaging is used for illegal immigrants, there's no place it is written that it cannot be used for legal immigrants. And to believe that there cannot be an overreach or there can be one is premature at the moment. So let's wait and see how it unfolds. The next point is considering whether it should be possible to use DNA analysis in certain alien cases for identification purposes and presenting suggestions on how such arrangement could be designed. See, this is a little bit going deep a little bit to something that is private, using DNA analysis of people who came here illegally. I think fingerprints should be a more reasonable and universal point to stop. Going further to using DNA evidence of figuring people out is intrusive, and I believe that some people will see it that way, critics will see it that way, or it might be well overwhelmingly accepted. Whichever way it goes, let's hope it favors the intention of both the immigrants and the state. And finally, proposing increased information exchanges between public authorities and municipalities aimed at boosting reinforcement. Well, that is more of a government language, bureaucratic language. The inquiry will be given more time for its deliberation. The parts of the remit concerning the statutory limitation period for removal orders and re-entry bans are to be presented in an interim report by 31st January 2024, already done. And other parts of the remit are to be presented in report by 30th September, already gone. So what I will be looking at for is when these two subsequent reports will be published to the public. And if you look at other headlines, things they are talking about in regard to legal immigration, they're talking about giving about a blue card, or called blue card, to well-qualified, high-skilled immigrants to help them easily go through a different path to get a job in Sweden and work and contribute to the economy. And another thing I want to talk about in this aspect is the idea of deportation, voluntary deportation. You can understand that when people leave, especially from a war-ravaged country or very poor country, anything minimal is good enough. So it makes it difficult then to see who will voluntarily want to go back to where they are running away from. It is not always that your asylum will be accepted, even when you have a legitimate fear threshold. And what happens even with legitimate fear, you are not granted asylum. And now you are given the opportunity to go back to the same country you're running away from. What happened? What happened when you say no? What happened when not just saying no is enough and you disappear within the site and nobody finds you? What happened when such a person lashes out? Or when such a person is driven into gangsterism as a way of protecting himself? These are ethical questions that must definitely rise. Sometimes when politicians make decisions, the intricacies are not well chiseled out. They're not well handled until one or two things that are negative come along the line. And until we know what the next move is, That is the news. So you better check it. Try to go to the website, the Swedish government.se website, to look around, follow the policies that may affect your life. There are many of them, but every now and then something that is very significant comes up. If you're not looking, you're not going to see. So please, that's all I have for this episode. Subscribe, like, and share. Until we see again, remain peaceful, continue loving, and never stop believing. Peace.